Let's start. So where we have stopped today is this slide, this one, where we told that
Sir, sir,
there
your
are.
voice is breaking.
Is it? Hello, hello. Now, hello.
Yes, sir, it is okay.
Yes, sir, now it's okay.
Okay, fine. I just reverse this one then. Okay, so we stopped at this slide. So here we discussed about the seen and anti. I don't want this one. Anyway, to go. Okay, okay. So we stopped at this slide where we discussed about the seen and anti arrangement of the nucleotide for parallel and anti-parallel quadruplex. So one thing we have not discussed so far is on the stability of the quadruplex. So today we are going to start on from that point of view. And before going to the stability, let me stress one point that we have seen groups, major and minor group in case of double-stranded DNA. In quadruplex DNA also there are groups. You see that we can access the bases from various sites. So these are the sugar phosphate backbone, and inside the blue one are the bases. So in the structure of quadruplex DNA also there are groups. As we have seen for the duplex DNA, there are major and minor groups. For quadruplex DNA also there are groups. So what is the nature of these groups in quadruplex DNA? The next question. So quadruplex DNA can be of various type. One type is where all the four strands are going in parallel direction. Okay. So tetramolecular quadruplex of parallel type, where all these four strands are going in the same direction, 5 prime to 3 prime. And this is a cross section of that kind of a four stranded DNA. Obviously, here also the sugar phosphate backbone is going perpendicular to the computer screen, and these are the nucleotides. So in this case, the parallel quadruplex, all the four groups are of equal size. All of them are what can you say? Groove. There is no major groove, no minor groove. You can see three of them here. All three are equivalent in size. If you rotate it, I cannot do it right now because it's a two-dimensional model. You'll see that everyone, all of them will be like this. Like this. So you rotate it, it will look like those kind of origami cups kind of structure. What you see? All four are equivalent. Three of them can be visible here. One is at the opposite side. The tetramolecular quadruplex in place of cation with parallel strands, right-handed helical structure containing four equivalent groups. But if it is not of parallel type, that is one strand at least is going on opposite direction. Three of them are 5 prime to 3 prime, and one of them is 3 prime to 5 prime, or two of them 5 prime to 3 prime and two of them 3 prime to 5 prime. In that case, what happens? A structure something like that. In this case, in antiparallel quadruplex, we have four types of groove. One is the wide groove, one is called a medium groove. So there are three types, two wide grooves, this one, and one medium groove and one narrow groove. So there are total three types of grooves can be seen in case of quadruplex DNA with anti-parallel strands. So the groove arrangement will be complicated like this. So there are two grooves here, two wide grooves, one medium groove and one narrow groove. It is very difficult to visualize it, but you just see from this figure. Groove means we just see from the sugar to sugar. So this is medium distant. This is very wide, so as this one, and this is very narrow. Correct. So again, this is the cross section of the quadruplex. It is going like this. Penetrating the computer screen, you take a cross section at one of these 4G plane, and you see how are the groups located. So in anti-parallel there are three types of groups. In parallel there is only one type of group, and those groups are equivalent in nature. So you get the point here?
Yes, sir.
Fine. Okay, now the stability. Formation and stability of G quadruplex. Somebody was asking the nature of the cation that actually stabilizes this quadruplex. It is always a monovalent cation, and the stability index, it is not, I have not put in the PowerPoint, I am writing in the pen. Sodium gives the maximum stability, followed by potassium. These two are mainly found, and to some extent lithium also gives stability to quadruplex. Okay, so always it is monovalent cations. So why this kind of a ionic stability is required? Because I think we have told that the ionic bonds are the most stable bond, which is most stable bond in the non-covalent class. That is, covalent bond is very strong, but if you don't want to make a covalent bond, that is, your bond is non-covalent in nature, that is you can take it out very easily, but you want strength also. In that case, your answer should be getting an ionic bond, and this enormous stability is required to form this kind of quadruplex. Why? Because whenever we are forming the quadruplex, what we have to provide? We have to provide 4 single strands, either from a single double-stranded DNA, various places of that. In that case, it will form loops, which is this sort of loops. What is called that? That is lateral loops or propeller loops, or you unwind 4 distinct single-stranded DNA and bring one strand from all of them. So whatever you do, you have to melt or take out double strand at from a long stretch of DNA, correct? So you need lot of energy to bring these many single strand at one place. So if you now want to make a structure out of this single strand, your structure should be of that amount of extraordinary stable that this stability increase will offset the energy you are spending to take out this enormous amount of double-stranded DNA. So the structure of quadruplex must be stabilized by ionic bond, and this monovalent cations provides this ionic bond. So it is a strong bond. The negative electrostatic potential created by this guanine O6 oxygen atoms, which form a central channel of the G tetrad stack with the cation located within the channel. So here you see there are many C11O bonds are there, and in this C11O bonds, which is using as hydrogen bond acceptor, there are lone pairs of electrons. This is called lone pairs of electrons. One electron pair is just like that sits over this oxygen, and that makes this oxygen partially negative in charge. So this negative charge, partial negative charge, I cannot tell it is fully charged because this oxygen actually was shared with this carbon here, but as oxygen is more electronegative, it will come closer to this oxygen. So and it stays over this oxygen, and that gives this oxygen partial negative charge, and this partial negative charge attracts these monovalent cation in the central channel, which is goes like this, of this quadruplex DNA. So this ionic interaction holds these 4 strands together in one place. It is very strong attractive interaction, and that is how this 4-stranded helix gets its stability. Did you get the point?
Sir,
So,
can you please
Hello?
repeat?
Yeah, of course. So there are 4 guanine, and on all these 4 guanine there are O6 oxygen. This is the O6 oxygen, and this O6 oxygen, all of them has a lone pair of electron. That is why it also acts as a hydrogen bond acceptor. Okay, so so step by step. So this is one stack, one stack. Above this there is another stack. So this is one stack at your computer screen. Over the top there is another stack of G quadruplex is coming. So at least two. Below it, one more might be coming. So whatever the stacks are there, at the center of the stack, you are getting four corner of occupied by four O6 oxygen of guanine. So one layer, another layer, another layer. So you, as you see that at the center, you have a channel which is dotted by at four corners, four partially negative O6 oxygen of guanine. So what happens that in this channel, we put these metal ions, monovalent metal ions are kept 1, 2, 3 like that. So this monovalent cation is positively charged. There is no water inside. They feel tremendous attraction from four sides from these four partially negative oxygen. And due to this attraction, the entire structure stays closely attached to each other. Inside this structure, these these monovalent cations, it floats inside. All four sides, it is getting pulled by four partially negative oxygen, and by this partially negative oxygen and the full charge in the metal ion, it is getting four attractive forces like this: 1, 2, 3, and 4. And these charge attractive forces are equal and opposite to each other. So, and they are putting this entire structure very tightly closed, and the ion in this structure is floating somewhere in between, and that brings enormous stability to this G quadruplex. Did you get the point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So as we have told you, if you get a cross section, this is there are 8 G quadruplexes there. In the center, in this blue thing, what you are seeing is this O6 oxygen atoms. So they interact with this oxygen, oxygen with this metal ion. Metal ion almost floats inside. So I think you have heard the legend of Somnath Temple Shivlinga, correct? Anybody heard of that? The famous Shivlingam of Somnath Temple? Yes or no? If no, I have to tell that.
No, sir.
What happened that when Muhammad Ghori, the king of Ghazni, attacked Somnath temple, he went there and he saw that the Shivlingam of the temple is actually floating at the center of the room, at the center of a vacant room. So, and so he initially thought how it is floating. So what he has done, so it is not a good story actually, it is a barbarism. So he started, so anywhere India is attacked by various times by various invaders, and ultimately we assimilated every one of them. That is a separate story. But what he thought that there might be equal and opposite force from the walls and the ceiling, which is creating a force balance, and that is why the Shivlingam is floating in space. So he ordered his soldiers to break one side wall of the temple. Immediately that was broken, the Shivalingam, which was floating at the center of the room, fell off, because the Shivalingam was a very powerful magnet and all the walls are made up of metals. So there was equal and opposite magnetic force that was pulling from all the sides, so that the Shivalingam was floating at the center of the room. The similar situation is also here. So all these oxygens are pulling these metal ions from all the sides. So the metal ions are floating in this channel inside the G quadruplex. Get the point?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So the precise location of the cations between the tetrad is dependent on the nature of the cation. This is also important. So what we told that we can have either sodium and potassium. Lithium is very rare. Sodium is the best option to stabilize this G quadruplex. Potassium also good. Lithium sometimes. Lithium anyway is not present widely inside our body also. These two are the main cations we have, monovalent cations. But the arrangement of these cations, both sodium and potassium, differs little bit from the helix, which one it is stabilizing. The quadruplex helix structures remains as we have studied, but the arrangement of ions inside the quadruplex, they vary a little bit. How much? So with sodium ions within the channel being observed in a range of geometries, in some structures a sodium ion is in the plane of the G quadruplex, whereas in some other structure it is between two successive quadruplex. So in some structure it stays on the plane of these G4G molecules, 4G molecules or 4G bases, and in some other structure it stays between the two planes, somewhere here. Both are possible for sodium, but in case of potassium, potassium always stays equidistant between the tetrad plates. So sodium, both of this kind of arrangement is possible. In case of potassium, only this kind of arrangement is seen. Each tetrad plate and form 8 oxygen atoms in a systematic tetragonal bipyramidal configuration. So here the potassium is pulled by not 4 but 8 oxygens. So in case of sodium, it can float in the space pulled by 4 oxygens from both sides. In one arrangement, in another arrangement, it can stay between two planes and pulled equivalently by 8 oxygens instead of 4 from the top and 4 from the bottom. Both arrangements are good for sodium, but for potassium, only this kind of 8 type of arrangement is seen. Why you may tell why so? Because it depends on the chemical nature of the ions. But why it is important? Important because generally both sodium and potassium structures are identical, but there are number of well-established examples where the change from sodium to potassium induces profound structural alteration, implying high conformational flexibility of these particular quadruplexes. So generally those quadruplexes which are stabilized by sodium are stabilized by sodium, those are stabilized by potassium are stabilized by potassium, but some are there which can switch between sodium and potassium, and when they switches, we see there are a lot of changes happening in the overall structure of the quadruplex, and that may play some biological role also. Suppose from sodium to potassium, when it changes, it changes the shape in such a way that when it is bound to sodium, it is not attracting the transcription factor to bind. But when it is bound to potassium, it is changed in such a way that now it has been recognized by a transcription factor which will sit over here and it will start transcribing the gene which is downstream this quadruplex. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
Fine. And finally, I am telling it is stable, but how much stability is? Is there any mathematical expression which can tell us that? Yes, it can be documented mathematically, its stability. So what is the extent of stability I am telling? So for extent of stability, we have to go for NMR spectra. The details of NMR spectra will be taught in the module 4, but for the time being you note that NMR observation have been shown extraordinary stability of G quadruplex both in solution and in gas phase. So see, you are making this molecule into gas phase, means at very high energy state. In that state also this structure remains intact, not only in solution but also when this compound is in gas stage. You can get a G quadruplex gas like oxygen gas, carbon dioxide gas. this cation can remain stable. So DNA sequence capable of G4 DNA in vitro are enriched in ribosomal DNA and in promoter region, in telomeric and in mitotic and meiotic double-stranded break sites. So these in these places, these G quadruplex are found. So NMR spectra, when we do NMR spectra, sometimes we can do in solution, that we generally do for biological molecule, and also we can do in gas phase. No biological structure is generally stable in gas phase, so we have to do in solution, and that is why the technique is named as solution NMR, except this structure. This structure is also stable when it is a gas. So to get the gas, what you have to do? You have to put energy, correct? So when you boil water, only then it becomes a water vapor. So it is very, very high energy state. And remember, making a vapor of this kind of a structure, you have to put lot of energy. And even if you have put lot of energy, this attraction is so strong that this kind of G quadruplex remains intact in gas phase. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
And it is quite common to find this kind of structure in promoters, telomere, mitotic, double-stranded break sites. Okay. Okay, so far so good. So what I am telling, that there was a humble DNA, double-stranded DNA, which has some G quadruplex forming region. So GGG, again GGG, and then we make single strand, and we make a G quadruplex from this top strand because it has the GGG motif. So intramolecular G quadruplex. Fine. So far so good. And this DNA is long DNA. I am making an intramolecular. So there is one more strand also. Ultimately, you form a structure like this, correct? So you are left with a big single stranded DNA strand, which is just like that sitting. It is sitting as a single stranded DNA. So I am telling, and scientists also shown that G quadruplex is extraordinarily stable due to these strong ionic interactions. But still, if you leave a single stranded DNA inside the cell, it may not be a good thing for the cell itself, because single stranded DNA is much less stable than the double stranded DNA. It may be attacked by nucleotides also. Though there are proteins which can bind to single stranded DNA. Name the protein which can bind to single stranded DNA and stabilize it. Any one of the protein from your molecular biology studies. You see them very frequently when we discuss about the replication of the DNA. Can you recollect the name of that protein? It is seen in the lagging strand DNA synthesis.
Sir, SSB protein?
Yes, SSB. This question was asked by me, by your ex-VC sir, in my MSc Viva. So this is I told Reke. So he told me that, are you stay excited for all the time? Reke also binds, but Reke binds when there is a problem. That is, DNA got broken or something like that. At that time, Reke stabilize single stranded DNA. In the general physiological condition where there is no emergency inside the cell, SSB binds. Okay, that's good. SSB can bind, but is it all the time required for SSB to bind the DNA and stabilize? SSB has some other jobs also. It has to protect the lagging strand during the DNA synthesis, correct? So scientists have an idea that if there is GGG over here, then there should be CCC over there. So can the CCC form some sort of a structure that changes the single stranded DNA to some kind of DNA, either double strand or triple strand or quadruple strand, and that prevents formation of this long stretch of single stranded DNA. That was in somebody's mind. So what they done, they took strands like this, like we have done previously for G quadruplex. they took strands like this, which should come if one strand of the DNA is taken to form the G quadruplex. So the strand will be like this, and they put them into test tube, and then by studies of NMR spectroscopy, they started to analyze whether this kind of strand, whether they can form any kind of a structure, any structure, two double strand, triple strand, four strand, but not single strand. So that was the goal. And interestingly, they found a very interesting observation. So initially they found like this. So they are very much worried about this strand. What will happen to this? And to their surprise, they found that in the test tube they are forming this cytidine residues, forming a 4-stranded DNA, which is very surprising, because these are pyrimidine. They have only one surface, but still they are forming 4-stranded DNA. So in G quadruplex, what we see, that they form Hooke's-Steen base pairing, this 4 corner type, 1, 2, 3, 4. All 4 corners are stabilized by Hooke's-Steen base pairing, correct? Here, Hooke's-Steen base pairing is out of question, and C does not base pair with another C, correct? By Watson-Crick base pairing, C base pairs with G. Then what is going on? And then they found, by using techniques like NMR spectroscopy, that here also these C cytidines are actually forming hydrogen bonds, but not by a 4-corner way that we see in case of G quadruplex. It is G quadruplex. It is forming Hooke's-Steen base pairing like this 4-corner way, not by this way, but by a very interesting way. So these are the 4 C's. Here they are forming criss-cross hydrogen bond. So I'm drawing the arrow purposefully to show the hydrogen bond donor and acceptor, this kind of hydrogen bond, and they are stabilizing it. So what is then this structure is all about? So here what is forming, one of the cytidines is getting protonated. So it has one NH2 and one double bond O, both of them. Both of the C has one NH2 and one double bond O. So if this NH2 can become hydrogen bond donor, this double bond O can become hydrogen bond acceptor. So one hydrogen bond is sorted out. Another hydrogen bond, he had this NH2 and this double bond O. This is forming hydrogen bond donor and this is hydrogen bond acceptor. Other than that, this cytidine is getting protonated. So this is forming a hydrogen bond donor, and this one is forming as hydrogen bond acceptors. And this protonation is reversible. Sometimes this nitrogen is protonated, sometimes this nitrogen is protonated, and depending on that, this crisscross nature is flexible. Sometimes it is going crisscross like that, other time it is becoming crisscross like that, but all the time there is crisscross hydrogen bonds, and this structure is called I motif. It was named I motif. It was found in test tube. So did you able to digest what I just told?
So the last part, can you explain once again?
Yes,
How
sir.
they are forming the bonds.
Okay, so cytidine has one double bond O and one NH2, correct? So if you take two cytidine and do it upside down like this, so this oxygen will act as a hydrogen bond acceptor, and this NH2 will act as a hydrogen bond donor. So one hydrogen bond is fixed. Similarly, this oxygen is acting as a hydrogen bond acceptor, and this NH2 is acting as a hydrogen bond donor. So there is another hydrogen bond. In between there are two nitrogens, and periodically one of them is becoming protonated. One hydrogen is getting attached to it. So this hydrogen here, you see, This nitrogen is positively charged. It will pull the electron from this hydrogen, so it will become delta positive. And this in nitrogen there will be an electron, lone pair electron, so it will be delta negative. So one more hydrogen bond will form, and this will flip flop. Sometimes this nitrogen is positive, this nitrogen is delta negative. So this hydrogen is always delta positive. So this nitrogen is positive, and this nitrogen will provide the electron. So this nitrogen will become hydrogen bond donor, and this will become acceptor. And after some time, it will switch over. This nitrogen will become positive. So this will become hydrogen bond donor, and this will become acceptor. So one flip flop kind of arrangement will form, but in all the cases there will be total net 3 hydrogen bonds. Got the point? Is it okay? Hello?
Sir, there are only 3 hydrogen.
3 hydrogen bond all the time. 2 of them, the hydrogen bond donor acceptor direction is constant. In other the middle one, the donor acceptor identity will switch over in maybe a few thousand times per minute or per second. But net there will be 3 hydrogen bonds between 2 cysteines, and they will form in a crisscross way like this. Crisscross. Okay? Got the point?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and this is the I motif. So again, people have seen them in test tube first, but still seeing this structure in test tube is not good enough. So what scientists have done, the same strategy, they make a chemical compound which can identify this I motif, which I'm just drawing the shape of that compound. Some carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, whatever they have taken, and make a compound of this shape, which will fit in the I motif very tightly. If there is I motif, it will go and tightly bind this I motif, and this compound is attached with a fluorescent signal, fluorescent dye. Only when this compound is bound to this I motif, this fluorescent dye, or I can tell fluorescent lamp, will turn on and emit fluorescent light. Okay? So this is the arrangement, as we have done for the G quadruplex also. So similar compound was made for I motif also, and what they have shown, so visualization of I motif structure with in the nucleus of human cell. So it was suspected that there is IMAC foci in a DNA. It's a location where this kind of policy structures were there in various human cells. They observed in confocal microscopy with the dye IMAP. So IMAP is binding to that location. That is why this portion of the DNA is called IMAP foci. So it was found that this IMAP dye is actually binding to various location of the DNA. So this is the nucleus of these cells in presence of that dye and in absence of the dye. And you can see that in case of when we add the dye, there is some portion of the nucleus which is fluorescing, which is showing light. Correct? Correct or not?
The green dots.
Green dots.
Okay.
But again, we did the same trick. We added DNase molecule into the cells. So this DNase molecule will go and cut down all the DNA. Cell will die. Even if you cut down the DNA of the cell will die after say few minutes time. But before the cell got killed, and the cell structure got destroyed, you take this one, add this DNase one, and immediately we'll see this green dot, what you are saying, is now getting vanished. Only few of the dots remains. You see how many dots were there before and how many dots are there after. Correct or not? Majority of the dots are vanishing.
Yes, sir.
So that suggests that truly these structures also form inside the cells. So when G quadruplex quadruplex is forming. The other strand, which has this stretches of C, they generally, that's why they may not stay idle and single stranded. They also form their own quadruplex DNA, and name of this quadruplex is I motif. Okay, understood?
Yes, sir.
So now we are going to the applied part of it. G quadruplex forms at the telomere. Correct? So now we are going to go to telomere and see the practical application of this knowledge. So we now know that of G quadruplex, we know about I motif, and we also know that G quadruplex forms at the telomere, and we also know the sequence of the telomere. Some GGG in case of vertebrate, what was that? GGG repeats of TTA GGG. Okay, T T A G G G, and it repeats many times in the telomere of our chromosomes, and we know that that stabilizes our chromosome. Correct? And why these structures are required? Because in our we have linear DNA. Bacteria has circular DNA. Bacteria has no problem because it has circular DNA. So there is no end of the DNA and no beginning of the DNA. It's chicken and egg problem. But in our case, we have linear DNA. So as we have linear DNA, we have a problem. What kind of a problem? Because when we want to replicate the DNA, we have to add an RNA primer that is generated by RNA primase, because DNA polymerase cannot initiate our DNA replication. It must be begin with a RNA primer, and then our DNA get replicated, and after the replication is over, this RNA primer is deleted. So now what is the problem? In the lagging strand, at the beginning of the lagging strand, where there was the RNA primer, this tiny region remains unreplicated. So every time we replicate our DNA, we leave theoretically a small tiny region above the 5 prime in the leading strand unreplicated, and this way our chromosomes may get shorter in length every time we replicate a cell. This is called end replication problem. So I'm demonstrating it again. So these are the double stranded DNA. So this is the leading strand which is getting polymerized. So after it polymerized, you see that 5 prime to 3 prime it is polymerizing, and after it polymerized, this RNA primer must go. So the strand, this portion of the strand remains unreplicated. So if you leave this kind of a strand unreplicated, in every generation the cell is duplicating the DNA. In every generation we shorten our chromosome. We have to avoid that. How we generally avoid it? DNA cannot replicate it in opposite direction. DNA will always replicate from 5 prime to 3 prime direction. It cannot replicate from 3 prime to 5 prime direction. So addition of any sort of DNA polymerase is not possible. So what cell does to avoid this? Cell uses a compound, enzyme called telomerase. And what telomerase does? Telomerase plays a different trick. So let me draw the trick here, and then we will go to the slide below. So here this is 5 prime of the replicated DNA, and this is 3 prime. Correct? So here also this is 5 prime and this is 3 prime. So now when this DNA is replicated, we see that some portion of the DNA remains unreplicated. So what is the strategy is that at the end of the DNA, we don't keep any important genes. Instead of that, in the coding region, we have repeated DNA, like the sequence we just told, TTA GGG. So at the end of the DNA, we had the sequence TTA GGG. Only this sequence replicated many times. So at these regions. At these regions, we don't have any other sequence, but only this repeated thousands and thousands times. So if some portion of this sequence goes also, we don't have any problem, unless the entire thing goes. Correct? Correct or not?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
what? So the strategy is, instead of putting sequence over here, the cell elongates the other strand by a enzyme called telomerase. Okay. So this is 5 prime to 3 prime, correct? So sorry, this is 5 prime, this is 3 prime. This is 5 prime and this is 3 prime. So this DNA can be extended. DNA extends from 5 prime to 3 prime, correct? So theoretically extension is possible, but there is no template over here, correct? Template has ended here. So who will give the template? Do you know who gives the template? Have you read who gave the template here? Any idea? Yes or no?
No.
Telomerase itself. These enzymes carry the short stretches of RNA, and that is used as a template to extend this end of the DNA, this 3 prime, beyond the original end of this double strand. So it increases and keep on increasing by addition of the telomerase. So as it is now increased, so suppose it has increased to this much extent. So now this strand can be used for another short RNA primer to initiate a DNA synthesis, correct? It is 5 prime now. This is an RNA primer. It can now use this newly synthesized strand, DNA strand, as template to seal this off. But after that it has to go. But no problem. We have made the end of this chromosome long enough. Then if this RNA primer goes also, we don't care, because we have extended it beyond what was there initially. So this is the photo. So we are not repairing this RNA primer. RNA primer is gone. Eraser is not coming. Anyway, the RNA primer is gone, but we have extended it so much that we don't need. If the RNA primer is gone also, we have extended it, and we can keep on extending it again by telomerase, and again initiate and fill up the gap. Again the RNA primer will be taken up, but we don't care. We will extend this template strand even further by this telomerase enzyme, which is carrying a separate RNA template to extend it beyond the end of the chromosome. So it can extend, keep on extending, but that also creates a problem. We have to stop this nonsense. Otherwise, it will keep on extending the end. Correct or not?
Yes, sir.
So that their triple stranded, fourth stranded DNA comes into existence. So what was the sequence of our telomere? TTA
Three.
triple Gs. Again, TTA, GGG. So you see there are 3 Gs are coming at regular interval. So these Gs can form G quadruplex. And these G quadruplex can form, and just a second. Okay. So this is the situation. So it is getting extended. And as it is extended, we have just told that there are 3 Gs are coming, so they can form this kind of G quadruplex. Okay, and what we told, these G quadruplex are stabilized by the metal ions. But if you put what is called RNA primer here, if you put a RNA primer here, and that has put by RNA primase, and if by any chance DNA polymerase can load over there, it can come and flatten all these G quadruplex, because DNA polymerase is a very powerful enzyme. But what cell does, cell makes a protein which is called G quadruplex interactive ligand. This can bind to G quadruplex and give additional stability to these G quadruplexes. So if this G quadruplex is bound by this G quadruplex binding protein, then the stability of the G quadruplex increases even further, and so much so that a very powerful enzyme, you can compare it with a 8-wheel Tata lorry. It can, when it is coming across the DNA strand, it can now have difficulty to flatten them up if it is bound with these G quadruplex interacting proteins. So when cell feels that it has extended this end of the chromosome enough, it starts making this G quadruplex binding protein. In that case, now these are now blocked by formation of these G quadruplexes. So neither DNA polymerase will come and flatten them up, nor telomerase will come and bind and extend it. So they are now all sealed. Okay. And now when cell feels that, okay, I now want to increase this 5' to 3' extension little bit more, then what it does, it takes out this G quadruplex interacting ligand. How it can take out? Because all proteins have their half-life, it will simply stop making them. So what will be the end result? This end will be now free. So this can be used either for DNA polymerization or extension by telomerase, or there is another extension, what is called alternative extension, which we will be talking again when we talk in recombination. So we know that we have all the chromosome in duplicate. So this single strand can go and invade another chromosome, where anyway these sequence is all everywhere common. It is TTA GGG only. So it can go inside another chromosome, and from there it can get amplified using that template also. This is an alternative strategy, but now we are concentrating here. So either it can be polymerized by DNA polymerase, or it can be extended by telomerase, only when these G quadruplex are absent. So let me read. So biological implication of targeting telomeric G quadruplex using G quadruplex interacting ligand. In human tumors, the free single-stranded telomeric G overhang can be extended by telomerase, which reverse transcribes the template region of its RNA subunit, or by alternative lengthening by telomerase, which copies the telomeric DNA by homologous recombination. G quadruplex interacting ligand can promote the formation and stabilize the G quadruplex structure, thus inhibiting the telomerase extension process, which are required for infinite growth of the human tumor. So here is some additional information is also there. So in case of G quadruplex binding protein that can stabilize them in case of a healthy cell. In case of tumor cell, we can take the same concept and stop uncontrolled growth of tumors also. So in case of tumor cell, what we are going to do, we are going to make a drug which will mimic this protein, G quadruplex binding protein. In that case, we call it G quadruplex binding ligand, and we'll provide this drug at a very high concentration, that all the time they will be present inside the cancer cell at a concentration which is good enough for blocking this end of chromosome permanently. So if the ends are permanently blocked, then there will be no telomerase activity, and if there is no telomerase activity, there will be no further increase of telomere. So each time the cell replicates, it will lose DNA sequence from the edge, and by that way, after a few generations, the telomere will be short enough that the cancer cell will no longer able to replicate any further. So this is the applied part of it. So I am taken from that applied story. So initial part of the G quadruplex binding protein is absent over here. It is starting from the ligand. So there was a protein which can do it reversibly, as it is given over there. So from there we have taken the clue that now we can mimic the protein by making a drug, and we will provide the drug at a very high concentration, that it will always seal off the end by forming these G quadruplexes. It will neither allow extension of the telomeric region by telomerase, neither it will allow the DNA polymerization from the end of the DNA. So, and if you can stop telomerase, and after few generation, what is going to happen? The chromosome length will become shorter from both the ends, shorter and shorter, and after a few generations, it will be short enough that the chromosome will not be able to serve its purpose, or the cancer cell will be dead. You get the point? It is little bit complex.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's it, the story of G quadruplex. So next class we are going to do lot of nonsense with DNA, because as you see, the DNA secondary structure is a very important thing to analyze. Nowadays what scientists are doing, they are making really cups. As we take tea, this kind of cup kind of structure, this kind of bucket kind of structure using DNA, and those are called aptamers. And inside the aptamers, they are putting medicine and supplying inside the bloodstream, and using that cups to be used as a targeted drug delivery vehicle. That we are going to discuss in the next class. I think Monday, correct?
Yes, sir.
With this, module 1 will finish.